Okay. Welcome to the healthcare and laboratory safety course in relation to quality management system and ISO 151 standard. And by way of recognition, my name is Dr. Ali Igwe. I'm a quality management system and healthcare consultant with PEGISOL Consultancy. So this program is powered by PEGISOL Consultancy. The goal of this course is to awaken the interest of every healthcare workers as regards safety, help every participant to understand and practice safety in accordance to the accepted standard. Okay. So quickly. Hello. Okay. As I was saying earlier, so these are the objectives. Describe safety procedures, practice in clinical laboratory and healthcare organization. Then to understand how facility design impact the efficiency and safety of laboratory and healthcare workers. Also to understand how to implement this assessment in safety management. At the end of the day, you should be able to understand the role of employees and employers when it comes to safety regulation. Then you should be able to see safety practice as a core responsibility. Next is practice safety and educate others on safety programs and measures in their various organizations or your various organizations. Next, you can also pick interest in safety management as a career path or as a sub-career path in your practice. So these are the course module. Module 1 talks about introduction to safety. Module 2 talks about safety regulation. Module 3 talks about facility and housekeeping safety. Module 4, we're going to be looking at laboratory safety and classification. Then module 5, we'll talk about good clinical practice and good laboratory practice. as regards safety. Then Module 6 will address the protective clothing and safety equipment. Module 7 will understand waste management. Module 8 will address fire safety. Module 9 will also look at first aid, and Module 10 will also look at the exposure and safety management program. So by way of introduction, healthcare and laboratory safety, very important aspect of healthcare delivery. Now, every aspect of the healthcare is very important, and safety is a core component of the healthcare organization. Now, to reduce the risks involved with healthcare services and procedures, there are certain procedures and protocols that must be observed to ensure what safety within the workspace, within the organization, and within the employees and within those who patronize those organizations. It is important that the correct procedures are used in various situations when handling hazardous or biological materials, when preparing and executing, cleaning up, or carrying out clinical and laboratory procedures. It's very, very important that put this into consideration. It is also essential that you understand how to identify and use emergency equipment and protective gear, and also understand risk assessment as it relates to safety practice. So this is in introduction module 1. Now, first and foremost, what is safety? Now, as an individual, as a professional, as even someone who may not be a professional or who is not working in a professional setting, when you hear about safety, what comes into your mind? So literally, the word safety is very often used every day in life, in a different places, and it has meanings. But in general, it means the quality or condition of being safe, freedom from danger, injury, or damage. And what is safety? Safety could be a condition that is you are being free from hurt, injury, or loss. Now, generally, we can also say safety is not being in danger. Safety is being free from harm or risk of harm. So safety is about keeping safe, whether at home, whether at work, whether in your community, however you find yourself. So safety can also be referred to as the control of recognized hazard in order to achieve an acceptable level of risk. So you are able to control the hazard in that environment that it shows that the risk is minimal and it causes little or no harm to an individual, to the employee, and to the employers, and to the clients who patronize such organizations. So the word safety generally has to do with being free from hurt, being free from harm, controlling hazardous substances, materials, environment to achieve an acceptable risk. So let's look at history of safety management. Now, in history of safety management, we have what we call the first age generation. This is the age of technology. Second age generation, the organization age. We have the third age generation, what we call the holistic or system age. Then we have the fourth age generation, the system and holistic age. Now, I will just explain this briefly. Now, the first and second age of safety generation started in the Industrial Revolution during the 1750 to 1760. Now, the invention of this engine, then they call it, it's like a steam engine. Most accidents were from the technology, failing, injury, workers, and the public. So the focus of safety management was to ensure that the technology was safe to use. Let's say, for example, now we're using a particular equipment. That equipment we are using should be safe. So then at this dispensation, if the technology is safe, then we will be safe. So that was the ideology. That was the generation of safety management. Yeah. So the goal then was to just focus on safety of the technology that is being used, safety of the equipment, safety of whatever. So they believe that if the equipment is safe, then definitely the people will be safe, the environment will be safe. So that's called the technical age, or the age of technology. That's the first generation age of safety. So the second age of safety management expanded to the focus on human performance. Now it has shifted from just the technology performance towards the human performance, so as well as the technology. So systems were designed to be human error tolerant. so that neither human action or a single fault would result in accident. So much of this work focused on man-machine interference workspace layout. So if the human is safe, then we will be safe generally. So that was the second dispensation, second age of safety management. So at this stage, they believe that if the human is safe, then we'll be safe. So that's what we call the organization age. So the focus now shifted from just the technology to also what the human performance and the human interference. Now, the third age of safety management expanded to be focused on the organization as well as the human and technology. So at this third age of safety management, they were able to bridge between the first generation and the second generation. The first focuses on technology, second focuses on the human performance, the third focuses on both the human and the technology. So safety in this organization, in the organizational age, saw human error and technical failure more as consequences of this course. Now, the errors were viewed as a tip of the iceberg. Now, in this third age of safety management, the organization is safe, then we will be safe. The holistic or system age, whereby we look at it holistically. So this view continued until accidents such as 2003 Colombian Space Shuttle disaster. The Colombian Accident Investigation Board, CAIB, found causes in complex and interdependent interreactions of the technology, human and organization present at the time of the accident. So system failed in a complex setting. So now, the fourth age talks about the holistic age, the holistic safety. Now, in this holistic age, it is a comparison, and it comprises the safety that has to do with the organization, the human, and the technology. So the holistic approach aims to understand the complexity of the day-to-day work by describing the often complex interrelationship and interdependency between the technology, the human, and the organization. So this allows the description of the organization to be more closely reflect to the true reality of today's work, which can often be complex. Example, people working together using complex technology across multiple locations and division within the organization. So in this age, now, none of this approach is isolated. So we look at it holistically, and that is where we are. That is why it's called the holistic safety, which is now regarded as the best practice, where you look at the organization, you look at the employees, the human beings, whether they be a client, whether be employees, whether be employee, you look at the technology. So if these three components are saved, definitely we can say that what there is safety in that organization or in that process in whatever you do. So this is the best practice and the modern age of safety management that looks at the organization, looks at the environment, looks at the human, looks at the technology, look at it as what a holistic approach. So now, safety in the healthcare space now, on the healthcare organization, now we just look at the brief history about safety, safety from the fourth generation to the fourth generation. So safety in healthcare should be first and foremost priority. This is key. Why? To reduce accidents, to reduce illness, to reduce injury, and other exposures, especially especially in the laboratory. This poses a threat and hazard to the health of health workers. And that's what we call in occupational health, that's what we call occupational hazard. Now, people faces different kind of hazard based on their occupation. So safety management in occupational health help to ensure that both the environment, the product, the organization, the humans are safe, or they are minimal risk when it comes to safety. Common laboratory accidents include but not limited to cuts, burns, inhalation of volatile fumes, contact with corrosive and toxic chemicals, and etc. Now, accidents to clinical laboratory may be potential of leading into serious consequences. Now, there could be serious consequences when you have accident within the laboratory space. It could range from physical infection to health complication to even psychological depression and etc. So it is very, very important that we understand the concept of safety management. When it comes to the laboratory workspace. Now, there are many exposures in the laboratory that poses hazards to our health, but you may never consider them as hazard because when you look at them physically, they look like they are not posing threat to you. But the occurrence of this accident and exposure to clinical laboratory can be minimized if safety precautions and procedures are adhered to strictly. So it is very, very important that the organization must have a documented procedure that helps to manage the safety program. In other words, you must have a safety program in every organization, whether it be a healthcare space, whether it be in a laboratory, whether it be in a hospital. You must have what? Your safety precautions, your safety procedure, your standard operating procedures, your safety manuals. These and many more must be put into consideration for you to have an effective safety management program. It is absolutely important to have an appropriate training, retraining, and continuous development program as regards to safety. They must train, the staff must be trained on safety. They have to be retrained where there are safety gaps. Continuous development programs must be encouraged as regards safety. Next, awareness and put up safety system is key to safety for all. So safety for all is the goal. Safety for all, both the environment, the organization, the technology, safety for all. So safety is the responsibility of all. Whether you be an employer, whether you be an employee, whether you be a regulatory agency, whether you be a patient, whether you be a client, whatever is your safety is for all. Now, it is very, very important for us to know that safety is part of the 12 quality system essential. Now, these are the quality system essential. As you can see on the screen, we have organization, personnel, equipment, purchase and inventory, process control, information management, document and record, occurrence management, assessment, process improvement, customer service, and facility and safety. So safety is a key component of the quality management system essential. Now, what is laboratory safety? Now, laboratory safety is all measures, all systems, all process, all procedures, every chart, every program, every practice put in place in the laboratory to ensure both laboratory service provider and the patient are free from harm, free from hurt, free from hazard, and unfavorable condition with minimal safety risk. This definition is according to myself. So I define laboratory safety as all measures, all the policies, all the procedures, all the practice put in place in the laboratory to ensure both laboratory service providers and patients are free from harm, hurt, hazard, or favorable condition with minimum safety risk. Now, what is laboratory safety? Laboratory safety can also be defined as the measure to protect against laboratory accidents, which includes safety training, enforcement of the laboratory safety procedures, policies, safety reviews of experimental design, the use of personal protective equipment, and the use of body system for particular risky operation. Now, laboratory safety involves the development of skills and responsibility in safety awareness. Now, this calls for creation of a culture of laboratory safety, which requires a broad commitment from all stakeholders, whether it be the employee, the management, the internal employees, and everyone, the regulatory agencies. They must all be involved to ensure that safety is guaranteed. So, by way of also continuation, I want to talk about the laboratory workspace and facility must be such a way that the workload can be performed without compromising the quality of work and the safety of the laboratory staff and other healthcare personnel, both patient and the community. So when working in a laboratory, you might be exposed to some hazards ranging from chemicals, physical stress, radiations, microorganisms. Why safety is governed by both arms of the government at different regulations, both federal, for Nigeria, state, and local regulation. There are some things you can do to ensure your own safety. You don't need to wait for anyone. You don't need to wait for anybody to say that. Example are using personal protective equipment. That's why it's called personal. You have to use it. If you are using your hand to carry sample in the lab, you're exposing yourself. No matter how familiar you may be with that practice, once you do that, you expose yourself. So there are things you must do for yourself, by yourself, to ensure that what you are safe. So this course will describe essential element of the laboratory design, safety that prevents and control exposure to physical, chemical, and biological hazard, adherence to pathogens and chemicals of moderate and low level risk, rather than highly dangerous substances. So as a general rule, all diagnostic laboratories should be designed and organized for biosafety level 2 or above. So that is the standard. Every laboratory, every medical laboratory, diagnostic laboratory must be designed and organized for minimum what? Biosafety level 2 or above. I did a post on biosafety level on LinkedIn. You could check it up. Both biosafety 1, 2, 3, and 4 on a short write-up. Now, we must understand that the higher the safety, the lower the risk. That is it. So risk hazard safety, the faith and the trust required to suspend uncertainty to take an action. That is it. So an object that is imagined to have the potential of causing harm is known as hazard. Now, safety, a temporary moment when physical harm can be low. So if you look at this weighing balance, something like a scale, you see that once the safety increases, the risk reduces. But once the risk increases, what? Safety what? Reduces. So that is the relationship between safety and risk. And that's why we do risk assessment. So risk is that uncertainty about a possible occurrence, the management of it, the identification of it, and the actions, the preventive action to ensure those things do not occur. So, what is workplace health and safety? When we talk about workplace health and safety, what do we mean? Probably known as WPS. So workplace safety refers to the working environment at an organization or a laboratory, and encompasses all factors that impact the health and safety and well-being of employees. So this can include the environmental hazard, unsafe working condition or processes, drug or alcohol abuse, or the workplace violence. So when we talk about workplace safety, we are looking at the holistic approach to your working environment. It could be environmental, it could be the working process, the working tools, it could be alcohol, it could be workplace violence, abuse. They are all considered as part of what? Workplace safety. And including our workplace safety now has even increased to even the toxicity of the workplace environment. So when people find themselves in places where they are psychologically depressed, where their mental health is at stake, it also poses threats to their well-being, and whatever that poses threats to your well-being it could be regarded as a hazard, whether being physically, whether being chemical, whether being psychological. So WPS, which is workplace safety, describes policies and procedures put in place to ensure the safety and health of employees within a workplace or a workspace. It also involves hazard identification and control according to the government standard, regulating agency, ongoing safety trainings and education for employees. So this involves those hazard identification, how you can control them, how you can implement standard, regulatory agencies, ongoing safety trainings and education of employees. So what is the importance of safety practice? Safety practice is very important, but I just highlighted some of the importance of safety practice. One is to protect lives of employees and the patient, to protect the laboratory equipment and the facility, to protect the environment. It also helps to reduce costs and wastage. It retains clients and customers and patients. It also helps to sustain the image and integrity of an organization. You won't want to patronize an organization that is always having issues with safety within that workspace. Let's say, for example, yes, something happened, or you enter into a facility, maybe at the reception, and you hear that today something happened and people have to leave the facility, and that has been a recurrent activities or events. You want to patronize such organizations. So these are importance of safety practice as highlighted on this slide. Module 2 will look at safety regulation. When we talk about safety regulation can be referred as the highest form of official advice that employees have to follow, and they are legally enforceable. Now, these regulations are made by government ministries, recommendation from HAC, approved by necessary parliamentarians of the country to become an act. So every laboratory, every organization should have a policy to comply with the Occupational Health and Safety Act of that country or state that is applicable to the legislation as a minimum world standard. So the organization where you work, they must be able to have a policy, the safety policies that complies with what that Occupational Health and Safety Act has addressed in your particular area or your particular country. So these are safety regulations. So what is safety standard? Now, the first I talked about is safety regulation. Safety standards are a set of standardized design to ensure that safety of services, safety of product, safety of process, safety of procedure, and safety of practice. So they are like SOPs, standard operating procedures as regards safety. Now you see that a well-robust standard operating procedures or procedure also carry the safety. Oh, don't do this. Oh, this is this and this and this. So they may be advisory or compulsory, as usually laid down by the regulatory or advisory body that may be voluntary or statutory. So now in safety regulation, there's what we call safety responsibility of employee. So what are the core responsibility of the employee when it comes to safety? Take care of their own health. So they're expected to take care of their own health and their safety, as well as the health and the safety of other persons who may be affected by their action or negligence to act. So let's say, for example, you put a highly inflammable substances on a workbench. It may not affect you, but it can affect what? Your co-worker. Could affect person working, it could affect the environment. So those acts of negligence. So when you work, don't just only be safety conscious about yourself, safety conscious about what your co-workers, be safety conscious about the environment, and etc. You are expected to obey, so the employee is expected to obey the health and safety rules and procedure laid down by the employer or the authorized person. So you have to follow all safety procedures, from your personal protective equipment to your mode of disposals of waste. Let's say, for example, waste segregation, which is also what we're going to look at during the course of this training, and all things. So those procedures must be followed. You must comply as an employee. Report on safe or unhealthy condition to the employer or health and safety officer as soon as possible. So every unhealthy condition in your workspace, in your work environment, as an employee, you are expected to report it to what? The employer. Cooperate with the employer or the authorized person as regards maybe like the safety rep or the safety manager or the safety officer, where the act imposes a duty or requirement on them to enable the duty or requirement to be performed or complied with. So as an employee, if the employee is involved in an accident that may influence their health or cause an injury, you have to report such incident to the employer or the authorized person or the health and safety officer as soon as possible, or not later than the close of business or the close of that shift. So if something happened as a lot of that are health related, you shouldn't take it to 2 days, 3 days later for you to be able to. You must report it within that same day or at the end of your shift. So what is the function of the safety officer or the safety rep? The safety officer, the safety rep is to carry out safety inspection at least once a month. You should be able to have a routine check about this safety. Look at it, do inspection, do a quick audit, and look at possible things that could cause what safety issues. Identify potential danger in the workplace and report them to the health and safety committee or the employer. So every organization must have a safety committee. It is mandatory, it's part of the requirement of even the ISO 15189. So you must have a safety committee that comprises of some persons or some safety champions. Communicate with the employer or the health and safety committee regarding the safety of the workplace. Inspect workplace, investigate complaints, incidents from workers as regards safety and health matters. These and more are the duties and the responsibility of the safety officer. Also, he or she needs to attend health and safety committee meetings, participate in safety discussion with workers and safety inspectors. So where there are issues or things that could cause harm or any unsafe practice, is the responsibility of the safety officer to be able to discuss it with the workers and also with the safety inspectors. Now let's look at the core responsibility of employers. What are the core responsibilities of employer when it comes to safety regulation? The provision and maintenance of plants and systems or work that are safe and without risks to health is the responsibility of what the employer. So the employer must give an environment, a system, a lab, an organization, a system that you are able to work with minimal risk to your health. The employer has to arrange a workplace to ensure safety and absence of risk to health in connection with the use, handling, storage, transportation of articles, substances, chemicals, and etc. Provide at no cost to the whole worker occupational health protection and personal protective clothing and equipment. So the employers are not supposed to charge you for your PPE. Just like imagine, okay, you are being charged for using hand gloves or your lab coats, stuff like that. So it's part of their responsibility to provide all those things. I've seen places where people don't work because they don't have personal protective equipment. They no hand glove, no work. Yes, it is your right because you are not supposed to work with your bare hands. You're not supposed to expose yourself to that. So the responsibility of the employee to provide those appropriate materials due to the nature of the job. Provision of such information, instructions, training, and supervision are necessary to ensure safety and health for all workers. It's also the responsibility of the employer to provide adequate first aid facility. So doing inspection, we'll look at your first aid box, your first aid facilities, your eye wash stations, your emergency showers. All these things must be put in place by the employer to be able to reduce risks within the organization. Preparation and implementation and constant appropriate revision of a written statement of the general policy with respect to safety and health of the workers. So it is the responsibility of the employer to put this in place, to also ensure cooperation between management, workers, and their representative on matters relating to safety and health at the workplace. Ensure that no measures prejudice to a worker should be taken by reference to the fact that in good faith, he or she complained of what is considered to be a breach of statutory requirement or a serious inadequacy in the measures taken by the employee in respect to the occupational safety and health and the working environment. This is very, very, very important. Also, in addition to that, the employers must verify the effectiveness of an applicable standard on occupational safety and health periodically using safety audit, environmental monitoring, and health screening of workers to keep record of such verification, including record of unnotifiable occupational hazard injuries, occupational disease, record of authorization and exception, and data concerning exposure to specialized substances, agents, and work processes. So in other words, what am I addressing here is that the responsibility of the employee to do periodic evaluation, testing for the staff to ensure that where you are working, the hazard that you are exposed to, you don't get most infected, you are protected. Let's say, for example, you come into a facility, so let's take that is being vaccine, for example. If you are tested and you are negative, it's the responsibility for the organization to provide hepatitis B vaccine, and you have to take that vaccine for you to be able to get to for you to be able to build immunity against such. So these are examples. Also provide compensation for work-related disabilities of workers and rehabilitation of such workers as reasonable practice. They are to provide, the employers are to provide what? Compensation for disabilities for workers who are exposed to injuries, stuff like that. Let's say, for example, someone who is working in a construction company, for example, and fell down from 5-story building. So the person should not be, oh, now you can no longer work. So you go home. They must be able to provide what a package for as a compensation. Now that's why it's called compensation. It will never take absolutely the place or the effect of it, but just to compensate such an individual. Undertake studies and keep abreast with new scientific and technology knowledge necessary to comply with going clauses and provision of safety and health laws and health regulation. These are very, 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 very important. What are the duties of safety and health committees? Remember, I said every organization must have what? Safety committee, safety and health committee. As part of the goal of achieving maximum safety and health for workers, employers shall consult with workers on matters relating to their safety and health at work. Employers shall establish a safety and health committee to facilitate the implementation of safety and health program. So this is the responsibility of what? The safety and health committee. Make recommendation to employer about the health and safety matters. Keep a record of every recommendation and report to the employer. Now, each laboratory should adopt a safety or operation manual that identifies known and unknown potential hazard and specify practice procedure to eliminate or minimize such hazard. Normally say it, any laboratory, any organization that does not have a safety manual does not have a safety practice. Any organization that does not have a safety manual does not have a safety program. And this is the responsibility of the management to provide what? A safety manual that drives the organization as regards to safety practice. So briefly, look at module 3. So module 3 addresses facility and housekeeping safety. I want to talk about facility and housekeeping safety. So facility safety is an aspect of facility management that involves safety measures, all the measures you put in a place to ensure that the facility is safe, the organization is safe for both the staff, both the patient. This includes the design, the access, the pathway, the accommodation, the storage, the fittings, the electricals, access to waters. So all these are part of what? Facility safety. Now, there's a way a lab can be designed, and you know that this is a trap. There's a way an office can be designed, you know that this is what? A trap. So safety, facility safety is that aspect of facility management that involves all the safety measures that is put in place to ensure the safety of both the staff, the patient, the design, to me, facility safety starts from facility design. If you don't have a good facility design, definitely safety will be very hard to practice. So you must design the facility in such a way that it accommodates access, good pathways, they are not clumsy pathways, the accommodation, the storage, the fitting, because sometimes you give work to people to do when it comes to the fittings of the facility, and they end up doing a very bad work. Now that bad work are capable of causing what? Harm to the environment and to the stuff. Let's say, for example, now you were supposed to put the wire within the walls, and the wire was not done. Maybe after you decided to say, okay, you need a particular socket in this particular space. At the end of the day, you connect wires, and the wires are not strong. That wire, if exposed, can cause electrical shock. Let's say, for example, now there is a facility that the water, the water pipeline are running within the walls, and maybe the pipe got broke. At the end of the day, water can be gushing out from somewhere that at the end of the day could cause damage to the whole system. So housekeeping safety is that activity that control or eliminate workplace. So housekeeping is not just cleanliness, but it's a major measure to control and eliminate work hazard. So some of us, when you get to our workspace, we look like where animals are fighting. The pet is there, hand gloves is there, samples are there, everything is just scattered. You must have appropriate, naturally, if I get to a place and I see the place scattered, there's a way to irritate me personally. So this includes keeping work areas neat and orderly, maintaining the halls and floors free from slip or trip hazard, and removing of waste material, example, paper, cardboard, and other fire hazards from the work environment. So housekeeping is a major program when it comes to what? Safety, especially facility safety. So you must ensure that your workspace, some of us, our workspace is not that small, but the way we keep our things makes the place look as if there's no space. But just that our activities, our lack of coordination tends to make everything look clumsy. And that is very, very unhealthy when it comes to what? Facility safety in general. So a good housekeeping is key to safety. Now, cleanliness goes with success. When you work in an environment, when your facility is clean, people will want to patronize you. When your facility is clean, people will want to associate with you. Now, little trip can cause big fall. Imagine just a little water on the floor and it's not mopped. What happened? That little water could cause a big fall. That someone can fall, and if you do the risk assessment for that, it could be, I've seen somebody who fall and died. You hear people sleep in the bedroom, and at the end of the day, they fall into coma. From coma, they end up in the hospital. From hospital, they passed on. So little trip can cause a big fall. So keep your work area neat and clean. When you think is keep the place clean, safe. So that should be the goal, to always keep your workspace clean and safe. When you do this, you begin to enjoy the benefit of what? Of safety. What are the areas of facility safety? Let's look at some of the areas that we can look at. The laboratory and office facility. There should be restricted areas and restricted access. So the laboratory must have a restricted access, and it's part of the things we check when we do audit and assessment for facility and safety. Your lab has a restriction? Can anybody just enter in, or is there a sign that says, okay, this is restricted for staff only? Information as regards client samples, medical history, laboratory resources must be kept safe away from every unauthorized person. There's a data protection law that addresses this. So every information about your clients, the medical history, they should be accessible by everybody. It should be kept in a place where only authorized persons have access to it. So every unauthorized person should not have access to the medical records. Good lighting, very, very important. One of the beauties of the laboratory is good lighting. When you don't have good lighting, it makes the workplace dull. It also reduces visibility, which could also affect some of the testing that is being done. Let's say, for example, you are doing some serology testing. If you don't have a good lighting, you may have false positive and false negative results because the personnel are not able to see appropriately. Energy source, adequate ventilation, no or minimal noise. You see, there's some people within the lab, they are playing radio, playing radio, playing a whole lot of things with noise, stuff like that. That shouldn't be. If you're in the lab, for example, you are playing radio, or raising high volume music. Now, at the end of the day, there's a timer. Maybe you are timing a procedure for 1 minute or 2 minutes. By the time that procedure timeout, you may not be aware because of what the high volume noise. Access to good water, waste disposal. So there must be proper waste segregation in every offices and in every lab. All the waste segregation must be fully covered. Good communication system like intercom that can help you to communicate from one location, from one office to the other office, are part of what things that must be addressed in the laboratory and office facilities. Now let's look at storage facility. Now in storage facility, there must be adequate storage of processed sample in refrigerator or freezers under appropriate what temperature. Please note that your sample fridge and your reagent fridge must be separated. Sometimes I go into some facilities, some lab, I see that both the reagent and the samples are placed in the same fridge. No, it's better you have two small fridge than to have one big one and put everything to because of what? Cross-contamination. Adequate storage of document and record with proper archive room. You must have an archive room, and that archive room must be designed in such a way that it could help to retrieve data easily. Adequate and storage facility for equipment, consumables, and non-refrigerated items. So all your non-ref items, like your gloves, your pipettes, tips, those reagents that do not require refrigerator, should be kept in an environment that is controlled. So there must be a thermometer there to monitor the temperature of that environment, and should be free from rodent, rats, and all those things. Please note that there should be appropriate labeling of your storage facility, spacing such as your general stores, reagent refrigerators, samples refrigerators, and etc. Now, there's what we call the material safety and data sheet. It's a document that provides workers with procedure for safety, handling, and working with particular substance. So your MSDS must be pulled out. There must be an evidence that your people who uses those chemicals have gone through it and signed off, and a form of like an acknowledgement slip that say, okay, these people have gone through it, and you have to file it and keep for every of those chemicals that you use. Please note that safety awareness, infrastructure, safety cultures, regulation on safety are key aspects for this process we are looking at. Now, physical aspect of premises and rooms. Let's really talk about the physical aspect of premises and rooms. First, the facility design. Rooms should have a high ceiling to ensure proper ventilation. Walls and ceilings should be painted with washable glossy paint or coated with materials suitable for cleaning and disinfection. For people who use partition, now your partition within the lab space must be in such a way that the material that are used to do the partitioning do not easily react with chemicals. Now, the floor must be easy to clean and disinfect and have no edges between the walls and the floor. So the finishing must be top notch to ensure that the edges does not have contour lines. For the workbench, construction of the materials that must be used must be durable and must be easy to disinfect. So you could use marble workbench, you could use a bench that is coated with with things that could be easily disinfected. Ceramic tiles are good materials to use for bench top as they are easy to clean and are resistant to deterioration from harsh disinfectant and aggressive cleaning product, and are best recommended. So if you are designing a lab, the workbench could be ceramic tiles. Where you don't have, where you are not, where the organization is not able to afford that, we look for something that is close to that. Advisable to use steel for bench top. Do not use wood. A lot of people use wood. If you use wood, those wood are able to get. If you want to even use wood, at the end of the day, you have to use something that is able to coat it. That at the end of the day, to be able to achieve this level of safety. Now let's talk about cleaning. Please, bench top and floor must be cleaned daily and regularly and documented. So there must be a document showing your contamination, your daily decontamination of your bench top and your floors, even when they are being cleaned by cleaners and not others. There must be a document showing that this process has been done. It must be documented, because if it's not documented, it's as good as if it's not done, and you cannot document it when you have not done it. Ceilings and walls may require cleaning weekly or periodically, monthly, as the case may be. Items such as refrigerators and storage areas might be scheduled for a monthly cleaning. Now ensure you clean your fridges, your storage areas. Clean and disinfect bench top after completing the examination. So after your testing procedures, please don't leave it. You must clean. Whether it looks dirty or it does not look dirty, whether it looks as if there's something, you must clean. Before your work procedure, after your work procedure, you must clean. Cleaning and disinfection in laboratory areas should be documented. And your cleaning agent must also be documented. Let's say, for example, your 5% or 10% hypochlorite must be documented that this is what you are using for your cleaning. So include the date and the name of the person performing the maintenance. Very, very important. The responsibility is generally assigned to the technical staff that perform the test. So don't just leave your cleaning of your bench to your cleaners. Now, we're going to be addressing a very important aspect of the workplace safety, which is called the workplace organization, also known as the 5S. So the workplace organization 5S, this is a method, some of you would have heard the 5S system. It's a method of organizing and standardizing the location of materials, information, and equipment to optimize workflow and to help understand when something is out of place or something is missing. Now, there are some workbenches, some workspace that you get to, it look like war. Everything is here scattered. They are not on the pipette stand. Gloves are not on the gloves pack. Everything is just there. And sometimes when things are missing, you cannot even identify it on time. Or sometimes you're looking for something, but because it's not at the right place, you can't find it. Let's say, for example, there's a space that maybe the timers are supposed to be there. And then somebody uses it and put it somewhere else. And after using it, he or she refuses to bring it back. And then they begin to look at, where is the timer? Where is the timer? Where is this pipette? Where is this? We're looking for 100 micro pipettes. And then the 100 micro pipette is somewhere else, maybe under a shelf or in a carton. Because that thing was not placed appropriately, it takes your time. And as a result of that, you searching for it could lead to other safety issues. So it helps to identify and remove what is not needed from your workplace to achieve a given task. This also allows the management and staff to quickly determine when something is out of place or if a problem exists. So the workplace organization can be broken into 5. That's why it's called 5X. 5X allows the team to reevaluate every item and determine what is truly needed to perform a given task at a workspace or a workbench. The 5S can be seen as a foundation for lean activities. It's part of the lean activities. Without the 5S, it could be difficult to achieve maximum result when it comes to. So what is this 5S? So the word 5X stands for 5X. Now, the first X is for sort. Second is to set in order. The third X is to shine. The fourth S is to standardize. The fifth S is to sustain. So the 5x one is sort, means sort to all items in a given area. Place a red tag sticker on all unneeded items and move them to a temporary holding area. So you sort them. Needed ones, the ones you are using, the ones you are not using, place stickers and tag to it. Set in order is the second S. Identify the best location for remaining items. Relocate out of the place items. Set inventory limit and install temporary location indicator. So you sort it in such a way that they are being placed in the appropriate order in the appropriate place. Then the third S talks about shine. You clean everything inside and out. Continue to inspect items by cleaning them and to prevent dirt, green, and contamination from occurring. That is shine, just like when a shoe mender shines the shoe. Standardize, create the rules for maintaining and controlling the first 3X and use visual controls, visual indicators. Oh, prepared should be just like, for example, now you are in your office. Maybe if you are living in a particular office, you could say, okay, switch off the AC and the light before leaving. So that is a visual control. So even when you did not remember that you're supposed to switch off your AC, let's say you are in a place where you don't need the AC or all through. So once you see that right up, that visual indicator, it helps you to remember what to do. So we call it visual controls. To create the rules for maintaining and controlling the first 3X, which is sorting, set in order, and shine. Then the fifth X talks about sustain. To ensure the adherence to the 5 standards through communication, training, and self-discipline. Those are three key things. Communication, let's say we're set to do this, you communicate it, you do training, and you have to discipline yourself to comply to this rule. So this is what the 5X in summary talks about. Now, what is the benefit of 5X? As you can see, first, it helps to reduce waste and cluster. It creates a culture of responsibility where everyone understands their roles and understand what to do and take actions. It helps to increase the lab safety, helps to enhance employee morale and involvement, helps in the organization, the cleanliness, space saving. When you implement a quality 5X system, it helps to save space. Sometimes the space, some of us complain that the space is not enough, but if you arrange that space in the right order, you see that it is more than enough for you to use. The increases inventory control. It helps for consistent experiment. The increases productivity, because let's say, for example, you are running, looking for people, looking for this, looking for that, looking for this, but once you know where they are sorted, they are set in order, definitely it will increase your productivity. So you take shorter time to do a lot of things. Now, faster onboarding for new employees. So when new employees come into that particular unit or particular department, it helps them faster to understand, to onboard them, than everything just scattered everywhere, just around them. Sometimes they may get lost trying to understand the process and what to do. But if you have a place for everything, including where you keep your record in the lab, where you keep your folders, where you keep your equipment, everything is sorted out. Everybody knows where it is. There are charts to show on this, and people understand it. Then it helps them to onboard faster. Check for timely delivery of supplies. Now you see this. So this is a lab. The first lab there is a lab that before they started implementing the 5X, you could see the way it's looking like a shrine. Now, the next one, you see the way everything is sorted. All the pipettes are there. All the automatic pipetting are in one place. Tubes are in one place. The equipment is in one place. The pipette tips are in one place. See, this is the same lab, the same space, the same material. But you see that the material looks lesser here. Why? Because everything has been sorted. The 5S system has been implemented. You could see the difference between the lab before implementation and the lab after it is being implemented. You see, this is an example of a classical lab that is implemented 5. Everything is sorted, everything is kept, good labelings, and everything looks good, looks shiny. So the responsibility is in you, with you, to be able to implement a 5X system within your workspace to make it look the best. a place for everything. Everything is in place, according to Benjamin Franklin. If you have a place for everything, then everything will be in place. Well, if you don't have a place,